Welcome back to the Out of Bounds Podcast. I'm Charlie Caleri alongside
Gavin Williams.
And today we're going to be talking about Week 7, recapping it, talking about it like we do every week. And then we're talking about Week 8, you know.
It's clockwork, man.
Predictions we got and what we got going on. Next week we're going to have our playoff predictions midway point after next week, though.
Can't change them either.
No, can't change them. We're going to give it 8 games at least. 7 for some team. Maybe we wait another week, actually.
Maybe we go Week 10.
Maybe we go Week 9 or 10.
Yeah.
But it will come within the next few weeks. We'll have that lockdown either next week or the week after that.
Make sure every team has 9 games in their belt.
Right. But to start off, Gav, how's your week?
It's a busy week over here.
Really busy week.
We both got busy week.
Yeah.
Just gotta get through today.
Got to get through today.
And we're good.
Yep.
So we just gotta get not through this episode because this is the good part of our day.
It is.
Then we got HE double hockey sticks for the rest of the day. So
yep. 7 o'clock tonight. Another bio exam. If you remember from when the Bills played the Jaguars, I believe it was, right?
Yep.
We had another bio exam that weekend. That was week 3. And the Bills spanked them that night. So hopefully I can spank this bio test tonight. Me and Gav can spank this bio test tonight. We can come out on top of that. But for right now, we're going to be talking about Week 7.
Yep.
Little recap, though. From our picks from last week, if you aren't following us on Instagram for our picks.
At Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot between every single word.
Right now, the records stand as I am 63-44, and Gavin is 68-39.
So I don't think anybody jumped anybody last week.
Nobody jumped anybody. We both went, I think it was 13-4. Or no, not 13-4.
13-3? 16 games?
No, there was
16 games last week. There was no team on a bye.
There's 2 teams on a bye.
Oh, there was.
So whatever that
so
adds
it'd be
up
14,
to.
so it'd be
12-3.
Yeah.
We both went 12-3 or 11-4. Bad at we're sports media majors. We're not math majors.
Yeah.
11-4. So that's our predictions for right now. But starting off with that Thursday night game, Broncos at New Orleans. This was pretty interesting. And the Broncos are kind of turning up a little bit. But
yeah, the Broncos got a big win here in New Orleans. Bo Nix looked pretty good. He only had 164 yards, but the main man of the game was Javonte Williams, who I sadly benched in fantasy this week. He had 14 carries, 88 yards, and 2 tutties, which equals 26.4 fantasy points. That's off the top of my head. I don't remember if that's exactly it, but I'm pretty sure that was exactly it.
He was definitely either there or above it.
Yeah. For the Saints, nothing went good for them. Alvin Kamara, nothing good, but good. After this game, they signed him to a 2-year extension, which is nice. Spencer Rattler struggled. Cedric Wilson got a touchdown in there, but it was 33-10. There's not too much to talk about here.
No, yeah, and obviously you could see that Derek Carr being out of this game was rough for everybody.
It really matters.
And especially Alvin Kamara. I mean, that guy couldn't get involved in the passing game. He had, 10 yards rushing. He just really wasn't involved. And obviously they didn't play him for a lot of the second half and fourth quarter, but because they were down so much. But, it's still something to monitor for that Saints team that started off so good. And now
they're, 2-5?
And now they're dwindling down, and we're going to be talking about the NFC South because we've been locked in on them all year, and that division's kind of taking a turn for the worst like we maybe expected. But going across the pond now to the London game this week, the Jags' second back-to-back game, second of a back-to-back in London. This time, the home team against the New England Patriots, who actually had a lot of fans in London.
They did.
And I don't know if it's because of the England, like New England, or if, I don't know. I don't know why, but there was a ton of red in that stadium on Sunday. But the Jags got the dub 32-16 with a great win, moving them to 2-5. And it started off terrible for them.
It started off good for them.
No, they got down 10-0.
Oh, they're talking about the Patriots.
No, it started off good for the Pats. Yeah, the Pats, right. JaMychal Hasty started with that touchdown. Sly added it to make 10-0. And then the Jags scored 25 in a row. Brian Thomas, Tank Bigsby getting in there. Those young guys are getting involved for that team. You're seeing the days of Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Travis Etienne. Those guys aren't involved as much anymore. So get ready for Tank and Brian Thomas to become the new weapons in that offense. And
Evan Ingram still got in the game a little bit.
Right, yeah, he's still always productive. And now on the other side for New England, pretty quick. I mean, yeah, you lost this game, but Drake May looks good. So that's something you got to take out of the season, and especially if you're losing games and he looks good. That's a win-win, I guess, for your team, especially being 1-6 at this point. You're not probably making the playoffs, so, just get the players that you want to be improved. Him and Ramondre, basically, and DeMario.
Yeah.
So, that's that game.
So we'll move on to one of our 2 games of the week. So this game was the Lions visiting the Vikings, and this was a classic NFC North battle. Absolute battle. So the score of this was 31-29, but the Vikings had a huge fourth quarter. Absolutely massive. They got a field goal, turned it around, and then they got a pick six, and then after that,
Fumble six?
Yeah, fumble six, and then they got the 2 point. So then they went. Oh no, they failed the 2 point.
They held the 2 point.
They failed the 2 point. So then that left the score 29-28. Lions drive down. Jake Bates, which I'll get into in a minute, drills a 44-yard field goal for the win, 31-29. But some stats real quick. Jared Goff, 280 yards. He only incompleted 3 passes. This guy is money this year. Absolute
I saw
money.
a stat that in, I don't know how many, I think it's maybe their last 5 games, he has more incompletions than, he has more touchdown passes than incompletions.
Yeah, speaking about
Which is
touchdown passes,
crazy.
he had 2 of them this week. Jahmyr Gibbs, absolute dog, 15 carries, 116 yards, 2 tutties. The guy, his favorite weapon, Amon-Ra, 8 receptions, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. Absolutely amazing from that offense. But we're not going to sleep on the Vikings offense either, because this team proved this week that they're legit. They can contend with the big dogs, and they're going to make a serious playoff push come January.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold cementing himself as a legit QB1 in this league.
He really is.
And it's really going to raise some questions next year when J.J. McCarthy comes back from his injury. What is Sam Darnold going to do? Is he going to be in his 4th team in just as many years, or is he going to be backing up McCarthy, or is he going to be the starter?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's going to be weird because
some questions for the Vikings.
a lot of people I've talked to have kind of said it's kind of like a Brock Purdy situation.
Right.
Where it's like the kid's good, but he's also surrounded by really, really good talent.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Darnold's destined for success with that offense. I mean, speaking of Justin Jefferson, he had 81 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Jones, my guy, got it done, 93 yards, tutty. But the Vikings fell short in the end. But one thing I want to say about Jake Bates that I saw an interview of him, he was just he thought his football dreams were over. He was a brick salesman. A brick salesman. Comes back, hits the game-winning field goal against an NFC North Division rival. That's a great win. That brings the Lions to 5-1. That drops the undefeated Vikings 5-1 as well. So that division's really heating up right now.
Yeah, and that was a classic NFC North battle. Also, a brick salesman, what they call me if I play basketball. Class, if you showed me an NFC North box score with just blanks, like just the numbers of the stats, I'd be like, yeah, it's an NFC North game.
That looks right.
Yeah, it was a great game, down to the last second, late comeback, but just come up short.
Yeah, just short.
Just short. Lions get the win there on the road. Huge divisional win for them, tying the records now, but leading the division.
Yeah.
And now moving on to the Buffalo Bills. They beat up on the Tennessee Titans on Sunday. And let me just say, I was nervous at the start of this game. It was 10-0 in the second quarter. And we looked bleak. It looked bleak for us. And then 34 points later, we win this game.
Yeah, that was nuts.
It's insane. I mean, Allen after the game said defense will get it together. And if that's not getting it together, I want to see it. So,
he's really looking to be that front runner for the MVP right now. He really is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely proven it too. This game he went 21 for 33. He threw for 323, which is probably his most on the year if I had to guess right now. For 2 touchdowns. Still, knock on wood, no picks this year. 12 touchdowns, no picks.
Love that.
And he took a sack in this game, but that offensive line has been so good this year, and so consistent this year, in protecting Allen and helping him. That's why the picks are down this year too, I think, and the fumbles altogether. Ray Davis, he has been so good for us this year. 5 carries, 41 yards. This guy just puts up chunk plays. That's an average of 8 per play if you're not a math guy. 1 touchdown for him. James Cook also getting in the end zone for a touchdown. And guess who got their first touchdown as a Buffalo Bill in their first game? Mr. Coop, Amari Cooper.
With a little bit of help.
A little bit of help, but what a game.
He knew his route. He just needed to confirm it. That's
4 receptions, 66 yards, 1 touchdown, and a little help from his friend, who was the leading receiver.
Dog.
Also 4 receptions, 125 yards, an average of 31.3 for this kid.
This
is why we drafted him.
Exactly.
And let me tell you why. This is a great game overall from the Bills, and I'm really happy with this, and we're going to be moving on to Seattle next week.
A lot of momentum.
But getting Cooper doesn't just help right now. Keon's going to help him now in the short term. Coop's going to help him in the long term. I mean, in the attention that Amari Cooper draws in the field. I don't think I've ever noticed that before Sunday. He draws like a 1.5, I guess, guys on him. He's not a double team,
Yeah.
but it's like 1.5 guys. And that's enough. That half guy's enough for Coleman to get separation and get that average of 31.3 yards per play.
He at least has, when you mean like the half,
Yeah.
it means
Somebody's shading towards him.
or
That's
like
what I mean.
they at least have eyes on him.
Right.
So
their eyes are off
that
of
will,
Keon.
That will
Right.
show Josh their eyes are on Amari. That opens up the door for Keon.
Yep.
125 yards
Right.
later.
And if you have those two on one side and Shakir and Kincaid on the other side,
Scary, man.
and Cook in the backfield, or Ray Davis.
Allen's throwing the ball.
Allen's throwing the ball. And Van Peren Granger. No, I'm kidding. I love Van Peren Granger. He actually snapped this on our last touchdown.
Nice.
He's our center. But yeah, I mean, we're rolling right now. I really like how we're playing. That was a good get back game at home. It seemed like a really fun game to be at too. But going into the 12th man next week, it's going to be tough. But DK's out.
They're hot, too.
Potentially our guy, if you're a Bills fan, you know this guy Tyrell Dodson. He potentially will be out next week. I was really hoping to see him play. Hopefully he will be. But tough place to play against a really good team that's kind of playing really well right now, even with their injuries. But got to win the game. So
Yeah, little
Miami coming up too.
tidbit really quick. Speaking about Amari Cooper, I was just really curious when the trade deadline is, and that's a really big day for this country in general. I mean, it's November 5th, and if you don't know what November 5th is, that's the election day. But more importantly,
It's more
NFL,
important NFL trade.
trade.
Yeah, right. Who
That's
really
more,
cares?
more important day is NFL trade deadline.
I
so
don't.
expect these next 2 weeks to really ramp up with trades and rumors. And Adam Schefter is going to be a busy boy.
Yep.
So just expect that. But going on to, like you said, the Dolphins. Now I got to cover the Dolphins in a real barn burner game. It was a horrible game to watch. Feel bad for any of these fans. Sadly, our correspondent couldn't make it today. He would get into this, but I'm not going to really get into this too much. But the Colts beat the Dolphins 16-10.
Let me just say though, Ian Kennedy, our Colts correspondent, his brother's team is the Dolphins. One of his brother's
this
teams
is a big rivalry
is Dolphins,
for
and this was a huge game for him. So he was locked in on his TV in the room, and the Colts moving to 4-3 in this game
huge.
really helped his mood for the week, and really helped his team going forward.
It really does.
And the flow. If you guys don't know the flow on TikTok, make sure you follow him. This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue.
So, speaking about the Colts, Anthony Richardson had both the leading in passing and running and rushing. He had 129 yards, which isn't cute, but the 56 yards on the ground was. Michael Pittman, his main target, 63 yards. Tyler Huntley didn't play all of the game. He had to get put out by Tim Boyle, my Packers legend. And
Jets legend.
he had a touchdown this game. Devon Achane, 77 yards. Jonnu Smith, the leading receiver, with 96. We'll see when Tua can get back this week. We'll see if, like, the Tyreek Hill, the Jalen Waddle, let's see if the Dolphins are back or if there's going to be one of the most disappointing teams. Because I'm not going to say they're disappointing right now because of the biggest injury on their team, but
Right.
let's see how actually mentally stable Tua
Can I
is.
just point something out with this team? And this is something that I pointed out before the season. I didn't think you would come this far into play, but I think the reason why they're struggling so much this year, they obviously have great players on their team still. Like, still every week they have great players. But like I said before the season, I think they only retained about either 40% of their roster or 60%. It was one or the other. And the other percentage was new guys. That's even if it's 40%, that's a huge chunk of your team being new players. And just alone from the Bills, they added two. So,
Yeah.
obviously that depth and that inexperience with that team helps or doesn't help when guys like Tyreek and Tua, the leading guys, and Waddle go out, and even A-Chain. So I think they didn't do their offseason very smart because I think, honestly, you should try to retain about 75 or 70% of your roster every year. And knowing that they retained less than 60% was pretty rough. So I think that's part of their kind of downfall this year.
Yeah, completely agree.
Moving on to the team I was just talking about, actually, the Seattle Seahawks. They went into ATL, and wow.
Was
What a
not
game.
expecting this.
What a game from Geno Smith and the Hawks there. In a game that we both had the Falcons winning this.
I had them winning it by like 2 scores, too.
Yeah. So the Falcons now moving to 4-3. This division is clustered now. And the Seattle's also now 4-3. So the NFL or the NFC in general is also clustered. Geno Smith leading the way there, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also, Jackson Smith and Jigba threw a pass, 35-yard completion. Kenneth Walker got back into it this week, 69 yards rushing and a touchdown. That's pretty nice. And DK Metcalf, before his injury, 4 receptions for 99 yards. He's just unreal. And the fact that he's going out now is a really rough week for wide receiver injuries, especially for me and my fantasy teams. Just 43 seconds, man. Chris Godwin's had to stay on the field, man. But anyway, back to this game. On the Falcons side, this was a rough game to watch, honestly. Kirk Cousins, 2 picks from him, and they weren't great picks. We saw a little bit of Michael Penix in this game, but not too much. And Bijan, he played a pretty good game. He over 100 yards rushing, and he was really the only bright spot for them. But I want to point something out. I know they're 4-3. I know they lost this game, but the fact that Kyle Pitts and Drake London are stepping up in their receiving game is a good sign for them.
Scary for other teams too.
And it's scary for other teams, right? And especially those divisional opponents like the Bucs and Saints who are injured themselves and are kind of falling. Those are going to be important games later down the line, and those are going to be 2 players that they need to step up in those games to win this division.
Absolutely. We're going to move on now to our second game of the week. The Houston Texans marched into Lambeau Field. They came up just short, but we'll get into it. So we'll touch on the Texans first, and I'll give a really big hoorah to my man, Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, who held the Texans to 3 points in the second half. That's a hats off to you, Jeff Hafley, because this defense was soaring. You want to know why? Because C.J. Stroud only had 86 yards passing. He only had 86 yards passing. That is unreal. Unreal. And the leading receiver for this team was Dalton Schultz with 1 reception and 28 yards. But the guy, the guy was really happy who got a lot of yards but still lost this game was Joe Mixon, 25 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, just ate up that defensive line from Green Bay. Absolute masterclass, though, when it comes to Joe Mixon in that football game. They were not in it if Joe Mixon does not get those 115 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I want to ask you real quick about the Packers defense and their running game. It has not been the best the last few weeks. What do you think they can do to, just fix it in general? They got to fix it.
Yeah, they're already trying to figure out some new weapons, per example.
Because when you play Swift and Gibbs and Montgomery and Aaron Jones, it's going to be tough.
It is going to be really tough. They're already trying to move around some pieces. Eric Wilson, dog. He had 2 sacks in this game. He's starting to get more involved in the run game because he's bigger. He's more athletic. Not athletic. He's just more of a run linebacker. And he's really getting more involved. And they put him more in the second half. They have Quay Walker, but Quay Walker's more of a two-way guy.
Right,
He's not just a run guy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can have Eric Wilson in there for a couple plays while Quay's getting his breath back or something, that's what's going to help. And the thing about this defense, even though they let up a lot of rushing yards, they're still going to find a way to get it done, which we've seen in recent weeks.
Right.
Especially
and obviously the passing defense, 86 yards let up.
Yeah.
A guy like Quay Walker obviously helps a lot with that.
Does. And not even talking about the secondary here. You still got Xavier McKinney, dog, leading interception leader in the NFL. You have Jair. I'll talk about his feud in a second. But, dog. We got some guys. Javon Bullard, a rookie that nobody's talking about right now. He's literally a D-A-double-G.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, D-A-W-G. This kid's from Georgia. He's already got the mentality in him. It's just amazing to see these young guys fly around. For the Packers, real quick, Jordan Love entering his inner Brett Favre this week, which was kind of scary. 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 picks, which he's got to stop with the picks. I know he likes really risking the biscuit.
It's an Allen stat line right there.
I'm not going to be too mad with the picks. He has 15 touchdowns, which ties the league. He has 8 picks, which ties the league. So how do I feel about it? I feel like he's got to loosen up the picks, throw some more touchdowns. But if he throws 2 picks, we find a way to win a game against one of the top heavy guys in the AFC. I think we're going to be okay. But we just got to find a way to keep it going. Josh Jacobs, the 4th leading rusher in the league, 76 yards, and Romeo Doubs, another 94 yards. But just want to talk about one of the touchdown passes really quick from Jordan Love, which Charlie knows we call it hot piss. So absolute piss missile from Jordan Love to Tucker Kraft, which I think is really emerging to be a top 10 tight end in this league.
He is. And And I was going to mention, I mean, you're going to have those 2-pick games. I mean, you're going to have the most touchdowns in the league, and you're also going to have the most picks in the league if you're an air raid offense.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jameis Winston, everything that he was doing. Look at Allen in 2020 and 2021. So it's not a bad sign to have. I mean, it's a bad sign to have 8 picks, but like it's not the worst in the world when you see the other side of it and the good that he's doing too. And these guys are still winning football games.
And they've been playing some tough opponents. I mean,
Right,
especially
yeah.
the Texans. Like their defense is stacked.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the picks, you can't really control when a player hits it, or it's just tough. But I want to give a shout out to Brandon McManus, absolute kicker
Off the street.
off the street. Picked up Brandon McManus on Wednesday, goes into Lambeau on Sunday, hits a 45 game-winning field goal. Man, I was electric. We finally got a kicker. Blake Narvison's in the past, Anders Carlson in the past. This is the first game-winning field goal since 2021 when Mason Crosby hit one against the 49ers in like week 5. It's been that long since I've seen a game-winning field goal, so felt really, really nice. Pack is back, 5-2, tough division, and like I said last week, I said you have to win your out-of-division games, and if they can do that, they're going to be okay. So
Right.
if they just keep winning these out-of-division games, I think they're going to be okay.
Right. Pack is back, and guess who else is back? Joe Burrow and those Cincinnati Bengals. They beat the Cleveland Browns 21-14. They're 3-4 now, and the Browns fall to 1-6. And this miserable season for the Browns just keeps continuing. My playoff pick for the Browns is totally dead now. If it wasn't before, in something to mention in this game too, Deshaun Watson going down with his Achilles injury, and now we get to see Jameis Winston starting. So, however you want to view that situation, you can view it. That's all I'll say about that. But Nick Chubb back in this game, great for my fantasy team, great for the league in general.
Yeah.
Seeing Nick Chubb back there running hard like he always does, and he got in the end zone too. That's what you love to see. He had 11 carries. He wasn't very efficient. He only had 22 yards, but did get in the end zone there for one of their 2 touchdowns. And this is their first game without Amari Cooper too. So a guy like Cedric Tillman has to step up, and David Njoku has to step up. They combined for 18 receptions in this game, but less than 150 yards combined. So something to monitor there for the Browns. But especially with Jameis coming in now, it's just this season is just a wash for the Browns. On the flip side for the Bengals here, you're going to keep seeing Chase Brown, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase doing their thing for this offense. And I don't like seeing it at all as a Bills fan. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase is arguably the best wide receiver duo this year. You can make some cases for some other guys, but T. Higgins has been that good as a wide receiver too. Yeah, he had 82 yards in this game. So the Bengals moving to 3-4 now. Sorry, and closing the gap in that AFC a little bit between those middle teams. You see the Chargers losing the game there. You see the Broncos keep winning too. Those are big teams in the middle of the pack there that the Bills got to monitor too, including the Colts also. So Bengals beat the Browns 21-14. This game is boring, but an Ohio matchup, that's what you kind of expect.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a defensive game, but going on to it.
Also, sorry, Bengals, I think it's Joe Burrow's first win in Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
Or second win in his career.
Interesting.
Crazy.
So we're going to go on to another division matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles played in New York or New Jersey to play the Giants. And Jalen Hurts played a pretty decent game. He only threw the ball 14 times, but completed 10 of them, 114 yards and a touchdown. But the main man, Saquon Barkley, but they were calling him Snakequan, which I haven't heard that one yet. But I think that was kind of funny. But he was slithering like a snake out there. Let's just say that. 17 carries, 176 yards, and a touchdown. Holy cow.
And if you're a Giants correspondent, Tommy Moreno, you do not want to see that game.
No, that was a tough one to watch if you're a Giants fan, watching your old best player on the team. Let's just think about it. They made sure they kept Daniel Jones, but made sure they let go of Saquon Barkley. That's just unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. But A.J. Brown.
And they benched Daniel Jones.
Yeah. A.J. Brown, 5 receptions, 89 yards. Speaking about Daniel Jones, only 99 yards. Tyrone Tracy Jr., 23 yards. Malik Neighbors, 41 yards. Just an ugly game from the Giants. But this is the win that we were talking about last week, that I think this is the win that's going to give the Eagles momentum to make that playoff run and to win the East. So I think this is a great overall win for the Eagles as they go into Jet Life and get the win.
Just a reminder, I did pick the Eagles to go to my NFC Championship. Still very fond of that pick. I had them in the Lions, I believe. I think you also had the Lions in there as well. Moving on now to going out west, 2 West teams, and this is, I mean, if you looked at the schedule and you put this game at any other slot but 4 o'clock, you're just wrong. Vegas at LA. This is a 4 o'clock Sunday game, regardless of what you think. 4 or 5, not 4:25.
Nope.
Those are the prime time 4 o'clock games. This game was 20-15 in favor of the Rams, and they're slowly getting back. This team now moves to 2-4. This week you see some improvement out of Matt Stafford, and Kyren Williams seems to be bouncing back to being fully healthy now, getting in the end zone 2 times this week. Next week you're going to see Cooper Kupp coming back, which is huge for that offense and for that team. That might propel them to 3 wins. And the next week after that, you're getting Puka back. So this team could be back in the race very soon. They could be back to 4-4 and back in the race in just 2 weeks. But on the flip side for the Raiders here, Alexander Mattison has turned into the lead back. 92 yards from him. He's had a pretty good season so far. Gardner Minshew, 3 picks in this game from the kid. You really want to root for him, but it's just really hard when he's just not putting up numbers. And they put Aiden O'Connell in there, and he ended up getting injured, actually. Injured his thumb. He's going on IR now. And they had to sign Desmond Ridder from free agency. So get out to see if they start Minshew next week or Ridder. It's going to be something to monitor in Vegas. But the Raiders moved to 2-5. They started off, I don't want to say hot, but started off decent. Seemed like they were going to be in the race, maybe with the Colts or around there, but kind of fell off a little bit. Rams, you just need your pieces back. I mean, this defense has been pretty good for all the guys that they've lost over the offseason. They added guys like Cam Curl, who have been pretty good and stepped up for them this year. So Rams, I think, will be back in the playoff race. I'm not saying that they're going to get in, but I think with the reinforcements of Kupp and Nakua coming back, should help a lot.
There were reports saying that they are open to trading Cooper Kupp.
I did not see that. But he's coming back next week.
They've gotten some calls, and I don't know if they've really answered them, but they're not 100% open, but they're open to listening.
I mean, okay, so now knowing that, I think if they lose next week, I think they obviously look to maybe trade him because, I mean, you look at a guy like Puka coming back the next week after that, he's obviously going to be their future wide receiver 1. Yeah. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, unless they get, like, a guy, you know. But Puka's going to be that guy for them in the future. And if they want to move on for Kupp now, that's fine. But do I think they should? Not right now. Maybe it should be an off-season move. I don't know. That's really interesting, though.
It is really interesting.
Yeah.
Going on to from the west to the east, we had the Carolina Panthers going into Washington, and this was just a blowout win. Jaden Daniels got injured in this game with his ribs. So Marcus Mariota had to come in, and he came in really nicely. 18 for 23, 205, and 2 tutties on the day. Brian Robinson Jr., 12 carries, 71 yards and a touchdown, and Terry McLaurin, 6 receptions, 98 yards. This Washington team, even if Jaden Daniels is down, is still looking really good. They improved to 5-2, which they're really trying to make this case that they should be the East team this year.
I mean, I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be. Every week I go in kind of less and less skeptical of this team, which is great because I've always rooted for Washington, even back to their football team days, back to their, when RG3 was there. I don't know if I can say that or not. I don't know. But anyway, Jaden Daniels, he's just such a fun player to watch. And what I really want to point out is that defense. Obviously, letting up 7 points to Carolina is whatever, but letting up 7 points in general is pretty impressive. This defense has been flying around and really aggressive all year. And yeah, it's going to help them in their playoff push, hopefully.
It is. And just a little curious thing I had to look up. So Andy Dalton, 11 for 16, 93 yards and 2 tutties. And so he would be my L MVP for fantasy this week, my loser MVP.
I like that, actually. Wait, who was it again?
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
So with those stats I just said.
Did you play Andy Dalton?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was going to say.
I would just say if anybody played this guy, good luck, because he had 0.02 points. So he's definitely my L MVP this week if I had to create one. Other than that, though, there's not too much to cover in this game. It was 40-7. Washington moves to 5-2. Carolina is the worst team in the league. They're 1-6.
Oh, actually, no. On a real note, though, prayers up for Andy Dalton and his family. They were in a car crash. I'm not even kidding. They were in a car crash yesterday in Charlotte.
Well, now I feel horrible.
And No, they're okay. They're all okay.
Okay.
They're all okay. But I did see somebody. I clicked on the thing right away, and the first comment under it was, "Bryce Young thinks he's slick." And I got a little laugh out of me, but thankfully everybody in the Dalton household is okay. So just wanted to point that out. But I thought that comment was really funny.Moving on now to what was supposed to be game of the week was hyped up as the game of the week, and I thought it was a pretty entertaining.
It was a decent game, yeah.
Overall. Chiefs at Niners, Super Bowl rematch from last year, and the Chiefs getting the dub in this one, 28-18. And a game where you thought the Niners might try to pummel them in this game because they've been kind of down and out and against this team specifically, but injuries really held them back in this game. You could really tell on their side. Brock Purdy did not have a Brock Purdy game. 212 yards passing, no touchdowns, and 3 picks.
It's tough.
3 picks. I mean, I don't even know if he had 3 picks all last season. Yeah, I don't know. Brock Purdy, it's hard with the weapons that he's thrown to get some touchdowns, but you got to prove it, man. You got to prove it by yourself that you can do it now, not without the guy, or that you can do it without the guys around you. Sorry. Jordan Mason getting 58 yards there in the backfield, and George Kittle, 6 receptions, 92 yards, was their only receiver that was very consistent in this game. And one guy I want to point out, one guy that is a fan favorite, I think, between us, Ricky Pearsall, played in his first game after being shot about like 2 weeks before the season. Crazy comeback. I mean,
right in the chest, too.
Less than 2 months, the dude came back from a bullet wound that went through him, and he's back now. 3 receptions for 21 yards for him in his first game in the NFL. It's very impressive after getting shot.
Yeah.
So look for him to be their wide receiver 1 with all the injuries that they got. I mean, everybody's out for at least next week, I think. So it's going to be tough sledding for the Niners here at 3-4 now. It's a question now if even they make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough.
So Seattle leading that division at 4-3 now. It's a huge game for them next week against the Bills. Moving on now to Chiefs. This team's really good, man.
They're really
6-0, and they're only getting better this morning. At 7:15, woke up to the notification, unfortunately, from Adam Schefter that DeAndre Hopkins has been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for a conditional 4th-round pick that can become a 3rd.
Yep.
And just what a move from the Chiefs. Every year, it went out and got Tony in 22, went out and got McCall Hardman last year, and went out and got D-Hop this year. All the past 2 moves have really helped them in their Super Bowl runs, and this one I think will also help them as well.
I think so too.
Mahomes in this game, 154 yards, no touchdowns passing and 2 picks. But I do want to point out, Kareem Hunt had 2 rushing touchdowns. But that Mahomes rushing touchdown that you just said was silky, man. I hate that guy, but that was tough. That run, 33 yards, down the sideline, a little scamper down, a little like whatever move that. I don't even know.
He faked going out of bounds.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Kenny Pickett slide situation.
Yeah.
You might see something like that, but I doubt it. But this team is rolling right now. Maybe not passing game-wise, but they're finding ways. That defense has been so good this year, one of the best in the league. And if that offense, I mean, if that passing game is the thing that's struggling for them, and they have Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, it's a good sign. And they're 6-0. So,
the last undefeated team in the league.
Right. Noah Gray, 4 catches, 66 yards in this game. Just want to point that out real quick. Great game from him.
Leo legend.
Yeah. So the Chiefs getting the win in this one. I'm very scared of them, but they're kind of solidifying themselves as the number 1 team in the AFC.
Yep.
And it's just kind of the pecking order for the number 2 now. So let's get after it. It's not over yet. I mean, we still have to play them, so it's not over. But it's looking like the Chiefs are going to be the one.
Yeah, unfortunately. But we're going to go on to a team where I want you to say the name of this quarterback.
Mr. Unlimited. And he played like it this week. Come on, guys.
Dude,
come on.
Mr. Unlimited.
What did I tell you last week? What did I tell you? He's going to have a bounce back game. This is our guy, Tier 1.
Tier 1.
My fantasy team name, Mr. Unlimited, which is having a rough season so far. But Mr. Unlimited is having a great season so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just talk about him real quick. 16 for 29. Didn't look good in the first half, but in the second half, 264 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, he looked like Seattle Russ.
He did. He really did. He looked really, really good in that second. That first half was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. But he just had to shake it off. That was all. Najee Harris, 21 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown. George Pickens, 5 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, this team, like their offense, if Mr. Unlimited could play unlimited, they can be really, really good because their defense stopped this Jets team to 15 points, had Aaron Rodgers throw 2 picks, and Breece Hall still had a touchdown, only 38 yards, but 38 yards was not good enough. But what was good enough for Breece Hall was 103 receiving yards. So, I mean, the Jets got to get it together. Devontae didn't play great. The first play of the game was an incompletion to him. He only got a couple of receptions here and there. Garrett Wilson, I want to point out that both of these picks from Aaron Rodgers were not necessarily picks. And they were. One of them was a drop ball from Garrett Wilson where it hit right off his chest, where that was just bogus.
Yeah.
Like, you got to catch that damn ball.
Yeah.
And then the other pick was just an amazing pick from out of nowhere from the Steelers. I mean, out of nowhere. And I still don't know how he picked it off. It looked like he was trying to defend. I think it was Garrett Wilson. And whoop, swooped the ball, and here we go. So, I mean, I like seeing the Steelers get back to where they are. So,
I just want to point out something real quick while we're talking about Mr. Unlimited here. Me and Gavin play each other in fantasy this week, and I think I just realized that.
I just realized that right
Hurts
now.
So Good and Mr. Unlimited will be matching up. Right now, Hurts So Good is projected to win, but my running back 2 is just awful right now. So hopefully my new addition of Jalen McMillan, who replaces Chris Godwin, who played in this Monday night game. Are you good with that game, Gav? Can I go?
No,
on this
yeah.
Monday?
We'll move on, yeah.
So that Monday night game was pretty reminiscent, actually, of that Bills game. Got off to a similar start for the Bucs. They started off 10-0 with a touchdown and field goal in that order. And then the Ravens came back and scored 34 straight. How uncanny is that? You would have thought the game was over, right? Nope. That was just the end of the third. Here's the fourth quarter right here. This is when the game really started. And not to say, I mean, the second quarter was pretty entertaining too. But that fourth quarter started with that Rachaad White touchdown from Baker. And you think, okay, I mean, down by 16 now. They got that 2-point conversion. They're in the game, right? They come back. Derrick Henry touchdown. All right. It's kind of over now. And then 2 more touchdowns get added from the Bucs within the last 6:32 of this game. So at 6:32 of this game, it was 41-18 Baltimore. You're thinking it's pretty bleak, right? Thinking they might tread out the offense out there for one more drive, right? Bucky Irving scores a touchdown. Great for them. 41-24. They get the ball back. 41-34 after this next touchdown. And guess what? On this next drive, that they actually get the ball back. Chris Godwin, 43 seconds left in the game. Air cast on his leg. I mean, prayers up to this guy.
His ankle was bad. Did you see the replay?
Yeah.
It was bad.
I did.
Completely 180.
And I mean, Chris Godwin, I mean, in a span of, I mean, this is a very selfish thing for me to say, but Chris Godwin, Nico Collins, and Rashid Shaheed all going on IR within the last 2-3 weeks is very rough for my wide receiver room for Mr. Unlimited. So we got Nick Chubb back, though. That's great. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate. Lamar Jackson balled in this game. He had 5 total touchdowns. Passing. It was unreal.
And I want to point out Mark Andrews in this game.
He's finally in the offense.
Right, 4 receptions, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But the guy that really impressed me this game with his deep threat, Rashad Bateman, 4 catches, 121 yards, and 1 touchdown. This game was really reminiscent of the Bills game. Now that I'm looking at the box score, because Justice Hill got in for 44 yards and a touchdown of his own. So
everybody gets a touchdown.
Everybody ate for the Ravens. Even Tucker, he had a lot of points in this game.
Derrick Henry still had a lot of points. He had 26-point-something fantasy points.
Yeah, 169 yards rushing. He even got that receiving touchdown too, so that was great for him. But Baker Mayfield on the other side, 3 touchdowns for him, 2 picks. All right. I mean, he was throwing the ball a lot this game. I mean, he threw 45 times. That's a lot. 370 yards, though. Rachaad White, 40 rushing yards. Cade Otton got 100 receiving yards in this game.
No, he was balling.
He was balling in this game. But they're going to need Otton to step up. They're going to need McMillan to step up. Shepard, Palmer to step up. All these guys. Rachaad White, I guess. And obviously Baker. He's going to have to lead that team, and especially in that division where they still have a chance. I mean, the Saints are, like we were saying, the Saints are falling. Falcons lost that tough game by 20 points to the Seahawks at home. This Bucs team is not out of it. I mean, they showed heart in this game against the Ravens, and I'm rooting for them.
Little tip I forgot to mention way earlier. With Josh Jacobs, he got his first receiving touchdown of his career. That's awesome. I mean, the most receptions a player could have without having a touchdown in NFL history. Well, he finally got his touchdown, but now we're gonna move on.
Funny stat, right? That came out of nowhere, Gav.
Sorry, I
Funny
just
stat.
thought about when you said Derrick Henry got a receiving touchdown. So going on to a game I didn't really watch a lot.
I did. And
Okay.
I was kind of locked in on this game because Marv was trending to potentially win a fantasy game for me. Did not. But
I actually
he
won
was-
because of this game.
He was trending, but this was a great actual game to watch. It was the Monday night late game, so it ended kind of late on Monday. And if you were kind of drained from all the points in that
I was drained.
that Ravens Bucks game, you probably turned this one off because this one finished 17-15 in favor of the Cardinals. Yeah, Kyler Murray, he looks pretty good, man. He had it in a rushing touchdown this game, 44-yard rushing touchdown. He just looks super quick. He kind of looks like him and Lamar are just like kind of playing a video game out there, kind of.
Yeah. They are. He only threw a pick in this game, but one touchdown on the ground, one touchdown in the air, too.
Yeah. James Conner added 19 yards and 101 carries of his own. That guy was just running like he was trying to run through a brick wall every play.
Other way around there, Charles.
What?
He said 19 yards on 101 carries.
Oh, jeez.
That'd be
You guys
crazy.
knew what I meant. That was an average of 5.3, not negative 5.3. And then James Conner was also their leading receiver. 2 catches for 51 yards. And also Trey McBride adding 51 yards of his own receiving. So if you can get those guys involved for this Cardinals team, they're playing pretty well. And they're playing pretty aggressively right now. Moving at 3-4, they're tied with the 49ers right now for second in that division. And they're in the wild card race. This is
Yeah,
going to
they
be a
are.
fun end of the season in both the AFC and NFC. And you're going to see some teams that you don't normally see in the playoff races. It's going to be fun.
This is going to be fun.
Same with the Chargers too. I mean, even on their side, they fell to 3-3, but they're still right in the thick of it. So
Yeah, Herbo had 349 yards. That's unreal. J.K. Dobbins had 40 yards. Will Dissly was the leading receiver for the Chargers with 81 yards.
and those announcers were kind of disrespecting Will Dissly a little bit.
They were.
And if you know, he was on the Seahawks, I think last year or maybe 2 years ago. But Seahawks Chargers guy, and he's been a pretty decent tight end in the league.
he's decent, yeah.
But these announcers were acting like they've never heard of this guy. They're like, this guy's having the game of his life. And I'm like, 8 catches, 81 yards. I'm pretty sure he's probably had a better game.
he's had to have a better
I don't
game.
know. It's kind of disrespectful for Will Dissly. So I think for me personally, I think he's a tier 3 guy now.
I think he might be a
I think
tier
he's
3
moving
guy.
up. I mean,
Yeah.
just because of that disrespect, I think I got to give him
right.
some respect.
I think we'll throw him in the tier 3 list.
But regardless, that's week 7. Week 7's in the past.
Except for one more thing.
Oh, your MVPs.
So, with that being said, I always start with my fantasy MVP, which this week this player had 281 yards, 5 touchdowns. You already know who it is. Lamar Jackson, 34.44 points. Dog. Absolute dog. But now we'll get to my MVP of the week, which we were mentioning him a lot earlier. Saquon Barkley, man. 17 carries, 176 yards, and a touchdown. He got his revenge game. That's MVP status right there. So, congratulations to those both. Well, I know they're listening right now. I know
Yep.
they're 100% listening right now,
Especially you, Saquon.
and they're very honored. So
Yeah, they are.
I got a call. They said they were very honored.
Saquon, I mean, great picks right there. I would have picked Saquon as well.
I really wanted to throw Brandon McManus in there, but I couldn't.
I made
couldn't.
2 touchdowns against your former team at their place in the
Yeah.
first game back.
and
That's
176 yards.
it's pretty tough for Saquon.
That's a
right
revenge
there.
game right there.
Yeah, pretty
If I've
tough
ever
for
seen one
Saquon.
before.
So, moving on now to week 8 and our picks. As I said at the beginning of the episode, if you want to see these picks,
It's on our Instagram at Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot between every single word.
yes, it is Gavin. And my record now after 7 weeks is 63-44. Gavin's is 68-39. So trying to close that gap a little bit this week. Might be able to do it with some of these picks that I have. But let's jump right into it to that Thursday night game. Should be a pretty good game. Cooper Kupp coming back, like I said. Projected to come back at least right now as we're recording this. Vikings at Rams. Who do you got?
I like the Vikings in a bounce back win here. I think this would be a good time to get a bounce back win against a hurt Rams team. So I
Yep.
got the Vikings.
I agree. And like we were talking about before, if that Cooper Kupp stuff is true with the trade rumors, I mean, they got a few extra days now after this game to think about it and sit on it, especially if they lose. And on the flip side for the Vikings here, Sam Darnold, I think, is going to have a really good game in
I
this
think he
game.
is too.
So, yeah, I got the Vikings at least by 1 or 2 scores here.
Yeah, same here. Next game we have the Packers at the Jaguars.
Which is not in London.
Not in London.
Not in London, in Jacksonville this time.
I think this is going to be a good week. I think to keep the momentum going, I'm not going to bash the Jags because they got a good win last week. But I think this team's got to step up when it matters most. When I said last week, got to win those out-of-division games. I think the Packers can get it done, so I got the Pack here.
Yeah, I got the Packers too. I think this is a game where you look at this 2-5 team on the other side, and obviously that's a good 2-5 team. They have some weapons and they can beat you, but they shouldn't beat you, and you're a better team than them. You guys are 5-2, and you should come out on the win with this one.
100% agree. Next game, we have the Cardinals at the Dolphins, which I really wanted to pick the Cardinals here, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins with Tua coming back, not wearing the Guardian cap.
No, it's personal choice.
Personal choice.
Which I don't personally agree with. For him especially, dude. Like, it's like, I feel like the NFL, I mean, obviously guys can choose if they want to wear it or not, but I feel like the NFL should implement something where
like a 1 week.
if you have a concussion, if you're coming back from a concussion injury,
at least a 1 week.
you should have to wear it the amount of time that you're out, I think.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion. If you're out for 4 games because of a concussion, you should have to wear it for 4 games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree.
I
agree.
That's just me. I have the Dolphins in this game regardless
too.
because Tua's playing.
Same here.
If he stays in the game. I hope he does, but if he stays in the game. I really wanted to pick the Cardinals too, but I feel like they got to drop a game, and the Dolphins got to pick up a game at some point.
And they got their quarterback.
Right.
They got Tyreek.
Right.
They got Waddle.
Everybody's kind of back to fully healthy now.
Yeah.
A-Chain's back to fully healthy now, so
Mostert's back.
especially at home.
Yeah.
This is a bounce back game for them, and it has to be a bounce back game for the Dolphins if they want to compete this year.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Got to be a win for them. Another team trying to get back into being competitive after a tough loss last week. Jets at Patriots. I have the Jets in this one.
I have the Jets. I think the first time we saw these two teams play, we saw A-Rod play his best. So I think it's going to happen again.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see another good game from Drake May this week, but it's going to be a similar situation in a loss again. Hopefully you can see guys like Polk step up, guys like Stevenson obviously step up, and guys like Demario Douglas step up, which they have this year, and that's been great for them. That defense has to do a little bit better this week. I think they will. And on the flip side for the Jets, I think Devontae gets in the end zone this week.
I think he does,
for the first time. I think Breece Hall gets in the end zone this week, and I think Rodgers has a pretty good mental bounce back game because last week seemed like he was just like all over the place, man.
It really did
I
look
don't
like
know.
it, yeah.
So I think this is a good bounce back game for the Jets in general. It should be Ulbricht's first win as a Jet coach.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%. Next game we have
another divisional game.
Yeah, Ravens at Browns, and the Browns have given me no reason to choose them, so I'm going to go Ravens.
Yeah, I love Jameis Winston. I mean, almost more than anybody else. But I can't justify picking them. They're 1-6. QB's hurt. Just traded away their best receiver. The only thing they got going for him is that Nick Chubb came back, and he just came off of one of the most gruesome injuries I've ever seen. So, got to go Ravens in this one.
Yeah,
got to.
Completely.
Lamar's putting up another case for MVP, which I hate because every year that Lamar's good, Allen's good too, and Lamar's just a little bit better. Just a little bit better.
Hopefully, that doesn't happen.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But we're trying to win football games, not win MVP.
Yep.
So
I like that. Next game, we have a big game. And I think this one's going to turn some heads. Like, we're going to have some good football in this one. Eagles at Bengals. Weird matchup. Good matchup. I like this game. But I like how the Eagles responded against the Giants. And I think, like we said last week, that was going to be the win that would give them momentum. And I think this is the momentum they need to go into Cincy. So I got the Eagles here.
Yeah, and I'm kind of being a hypocrite here with my pick. I know I was kind of high on the Eagles and very, just big on them and how their momentum is going to shift them to potentially hosting the NFC Championship game this year. But I don't think it starts right here. I think the Bengals actually win this game at home because at some point this team needs to start winning games against good football teams.
Agreed.
And especially at home. They're going to move to 4-4 this week, get fully back into this playoff race.
Wow.
Especially with T. Higgins starting to play really well, Chase Brown stepping up as that number one back, and Joe Burrow's coming around as Joe Burrow, like just playing as himself.
Yeah.
So, and even with all that, Jamar Chase has not been like exceptional this year. He's been really good, but he's not been exceptional. So if he can take that one more step forward, that's going to propel this team into being the contenders that we know them to be. So I got the Bengals in this one. This is the game that gets them started, though.
All right. I like that. Going on to another division matchup, we have the Colts visiting the Texans. I'll let you talk about this one.
Yeah, I got the Texans in this one, and it's really I was really big on the Colts to start this year, and really big on Anthony Richardson specifically, and that has really kind of dwindled in the last few weeks. This guy cannot throw the ball. He can run the ball really well. This guy cannot throw the ball. Every time I look at his stats, he is under 150 yards passing. That's really hard to say. Under 150 yards passing every week. I don't get how you think at one point he would throw for like an 80-yard pass or 75-yard pass or something, but just doesn't happen. And that Texans team, that offense was kind of bleak last week. I think they get a bounce-back game, especially at home against a divisional opponent. I got the Texans in this one.
Every single time these two teams play, it's always within one score, and it's always a good game. And, excuse me, I think that we've seen a good game this year. I saw 2 games last year that were amazing. And, I have some faith in the Colts still. I have some faith. This is the last week where it's like, I'm going to pick them. I'm going to pick the Colts. And if they lose this week, I don't know. They have to play a really bad team for me to pick them.
They're so inconsistent, man. I mean, it's tough because obviously, like, I'm following them a decent amount with one of my roommates being a big fan, but it's seeing that inconsistency every week is just, it makes it really tough for me to pick them. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why
I think I'm just full sending it. I'm full sending.
That's fair. I mean, on the road in the division game, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And obviously Richardson is a great quarterback, and he can win you a football game, and so can Jonathan Taylor. But I think with like
he's got to get back.
The injuries that they got at Pittman kind of banged up a little bit. I don't know. I think it's tough for the Colts, but I could definitely see it. It's not a crazy pick at all.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Colts, and Charlie's gonna go Texans here.
Yeah, Titans at Lions is the next game here, and it's kind of the same as last week with the Titans. And it's kind of the same with the Patriots, too. I mean, these two teams, you got to just get your young players rolling. And the Titans now without D-Hop this week, their first game without him. I got the Lions in this one.
I don't have to say too much. I got the Lions in this one.
And I do want to point out, before he got traded, I did text Gav, and I made a prediction of where he got traded. And I didn't think it was a terrible pick. Obviously, the Chiefs were like the favorite, and I just didn't want to pick the favorite. So I texted Gav, I go, what do you think about Washington going out and trying to get D-Hop? And I thought maybe they go after a guy like maybe Cooper Kupp. But I think alongside Terry McLaurin, I think you got to capitalize on this year, man.
You
do. I know that Jaden Daniels is only a rookie, but you never know when you're going to get back, dude. So I mean, look at Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Every year they have the pieces, but they sometimes don't even get back to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think you got to take advantage of this year. Get that guy. They didn't get D-Hop, which I thought they might. I know it was kind of a far-fetched thing, but I think they got to go out and get that guy. So
yeah.
But that's my little Commanders rant. We'll talk about their game in a little bit. Big game for them coming up. But right now, huge divisional matchup in the NFC South. The two teams that are presumably going to be trying to take the lead in this division. In a huge game in Tampa Bay.
It is.
Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Who do you got?
I got Atlanta here. I think with all the injuries that the Bucs are dealing with, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it's hard for me to pick. I mean, the Falcons have a good defense, and I don't think that offense is going to get it done. So give me the Falcons here.
This was the worst possible week for this game to come for the Bucs, and the best possible week for the Falcons. Falcons really rough game last week against the Seahawks. This will be a really good bounce back game for them.
Agreed.
Barring that Baker Mayfield doesn't turn into Oklahoma Baker Mayfield.
True.
So
True.
I got the Falcons as well in this one.
Yeah, moving on to Saints at Chargers.
The Breeze Bowl. That's what I call this game.
All right.
Every time they play.
I got Chargers here because I liked how they looked last week, but I think Spencer Rattler is a bum, and I think he's going to continue to look like one, even though I think this might be a Kamara 5-touchdown game, Like, it could be, but I'm still going to go Chargers because their offense is just better than the Saints offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Chargers, they're one of those teams that they're in the race too, and they got to start winning some games, and especially against this team that's so banged up, without their quarterback and some, I don't even know. I mean, is he even USFL level?
I don't know.
Spencer Rattler. I mean, could he be playing for the Michigan Panthers this week? I don't know.
You mean the UFL?
UFL. Sorry, yeah, UFL. I am a fan of the UFL. I'm a DC Defenders fan.
I'm a St. Louis Battlehawks fan.
Okay. Yeah, you would be a Battlehawks
wow.
fan. You would be a Battlehawks fan. No, I got the Chargers in this one. I feel like Herbert's going to... He's got to... I don't know. I got to see more out of this guy. I don't know. All they scored was field goals last week.
This is the week where they can. Like, this is the week where
It should be.
Yeah.
Should be the week where they start going off. And hopefully we can see a guy like your guy, Quentin Johnson, maybe get involved a little bit. I don't know. Moving on now to my team, Bills at Seahawks. Like I said, going to be a really, really tough game for the Bills. But like every week, I got the Bills in this one.
You know, I just don't think the Seahawks have enough for that offense that the Bills are putting on the field. So give me the Bills here.
I mean, I wouldn't. This would be a game where I feel like you could pick against the Bills, and it
I
would
don't
be.
think I could.
I don't know.
I can't pick.
I think you
mean,
should.
The week
I think
where,
you should pick against the
the
Bills
week
this
where they play the Chiefs. You bet my ass, bet my butt. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. But by the way they're looking right now,
Right.
we're still not even there
Right.
yet. But like, if we were to pick right now, obviously I'd pick the Chiefs over the
Yeah,
Bills.
we
But
got a
there's
few
not a
weeks
lot.
to go.
There's not a lot of teams I'd pick over the Bills, and it's not starting right now. So I got the Bills in this one.
Fair enough. The game I was talking about before, Bears at Commanders. This should be a good one, man. Number 1
Should
pick
be.
versus number 2 pick.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, going to be really exciting.
He's day to day though.
Yeah,
He
he
is
is,
day-to-day,
but he's
but
expected to play.
he's probably gonna play.
He's expected to play, and I think he will play. I think this is a game he wants to play in because it's going to be kind of a playoff-like atmosphere, I think, in Washington.
I think it is.
Like it was last week,
They're gonna
honestly.
bring it.
I mean, the fans were into it last week, especially early in that game when Dalton threw that pick six
I
was
don't
that he
even
had
know.
to that D lineman. But
Let
the
me
Bears,
tell you, that D lineman got.
I forgot
got
who it
some-
was.
Number.
I can't
6 or
remember.
9. I don't remember.
I can't remember, but it was a great play by that guy regardless. But Bears coming off a bye this week, it's got to scare the Commanders a little
It
bit.
does,
Um,
especially because they're more healthy.
right. But it looks like we both have the Commanders in this game.
It
Why'd
does.
you pick them?
Number one, it's hard for me to ever pick the Bears in general. I do, but it's hard. But just the way even Marcus Mariota played in this game, I don't care how bad that team was that they played, they still put up 40 points, and in the league, it's hard to do in general.
Right.
So I think the Commanders can get this done with all their weapons they have. I don't care how many weapons the Bears have because they do have a lot, and I will give respect where respect is due. But I think this is a game where the Commanders know they got to win to control the East. And the same kind of thing with the Packers I was saying. Like, you got to win your out of division games.
Right.
And I think this kind of starts right here where the Commanders are really going to show themselves as a threat. Not just a team, but a threat.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the Bears are a threat too. I'm not gonna lie. Even sitting at 4-2 at the bottom of their division, which is insane because they'd be leading about more than half of them, I think, at this point. But the Bears are still a really good team coming off that bye. It kind of scares me picking the Commanders this week, honestly. I was really gonna consider picking the Bears, but I don't know. I think if Jaden Daniels is playing, I think they're definitely winning. And even with Marcus Mariota, the speech that he gave after that game, that post-game interview that I saw, and the speech that he gave in the locker room, both those things got me fired up for him and for his revival in his career. And I'm rooting for that guy. He's another guy like Jameis that we root for in that same draft.
He's like
a tier 2 guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him, but I got the Commanders in this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We got the Chiefs at the Raiders this week, sorry. I can't pick the Raiders.
The
I'm picking
Chiefs
the
in
Chiefs.
Vegas, dude, do not lose.
No,
they don't lose.
So I got the Chiefs.
I got the Chiefs too. They're not. I mean, I think D-Hop scores in this game.
I think he might score in this game too. I'm dead nut serious. I think he will score.
Yeah, I hate to say it. Yeah. Moving on now to the Super Bowl 50 rematch. Panthers at Broncos.
Two teams are a lot different than that Super Bowl 50 rematch.
A lot
though.
different. And I don't think either team has actually gotten back to the playoffs since then.
I do not think so. No.
I think the Panthers maybe did, but the Broncos have not.
Yeah.
I know that for 100%. But they could this year, and it could really start with this game, and it could really propel them into the future. Bo Nix looks really good right now. I got the Broncos in this game.
I do too. I think that offense will light up that defense. I got the Broncos.
And Sean Payton, obviously, new head coach for them. He's really
looking
stepping
good,
up.
man.
I mean, people were really doubting him to start this year.
Especially last year.
I mean, and he's proved that, hey, I'm up there with Belichick. I'm up there with all these great coaches. I should be considered one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
And I think he should too.
I think he
So,
should too, yeah.
Cowboys at Niners is this next game, and this is the
I'm really
Sunday night
sad.
game.
I'm really sad that this is the Sunday night game.
But it was expected. When you saw
It
this
was.
on the slate, you knew that these two teams, like a Cowboys-Steelers matchup, like a Steelers-Patriots matchup,
Yeah.
will be put on Sunday night. Cowboys at Niners. Who do you got in this
I got the Niners having a big bounce back win, even though they don't have a lot of pieces. I think that they can still get it done. I think this is a Jordan Mason legacy game.
I was just about to say that. I think this is a Jordan Mason game where he rushes for about close to 150 yards. I think he's going off this week.
I think so too.
And I got the Niners in this game. I think you see a little less of Brock Purdy. I think they tell him, hey, threw 3 picks last week. maybe take a step back, maybe just throw some dump downs to
Might be
Kittle.
a Kittle game too.
Might be a
'Cause,
Kittle game,
the
too,
last
right.
time it was last year they matched up on Sunday night. Kittle had 3 touchdowns, I think.
As our Bills correspondent RT or Ryan Taylor always says, it's all nickel and dime with this team, and I think that's what the Niners are going to do.
Right.
Short little passes, a little dink and dunk, long drives down the field.
Methodical.
And it's gonna wear out the Cowboys defense if they do it right. But I wouldn't be surprised if this Cowboys team goes in there and wins this game.
Yeah.
Especially with the guy like CeeDee Lamb starting to turn up a little bit,
That's
and
true.
them coming off a bye as well.
That is
So,
true.
even though we both have the Niners, this could be a game where the Cowboys go in there and kind of not upset them, but upset the fans maybe.
All right. And then the last game, the Monday night game, the Giants at the Steelers. I have the Steelers here because
Me too.
I think the Giants are a horrible football team,
They are.
and the Steelers are looking to be a good football team, and they are a good football team right now. But if Mr. Unlimited could be like Dangerous Russ,
Right.
not like,
Dangerous, yeah.
like Dangerous Russ, like
Yeah.
this team could be really, really good. They could be the top of the AFC.
Yeah, they could be unlimited.
They could be unlimited, and I have them being unlimited this week.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to score unlimited points against the Giants defense. And my guy Brian Dable, my guy, tough sledding over there for the New York Giants. Wow, it just gets worse every week for them, doesn't it?
Every week.
Every
week.
I just hate to keep snowballing this, but it's just really bad.
Ever
over
since
there.
that Browns win, it hasn't been that good.
Nope. But the Steelers team, that defense is so good.
It's best defense in the league.
His
I
team is really good. George Pickens is turning up now. We didn't even mention him.
think. Yeah.
Jalen Warren's kind of
Najee
turning
Harris is
up a
having his
little bit.
best year since
Yeah.
his rookie year.
Yeah. This team's clicking. Mike Tomlin. I mean, this guy.
He's
real-
up there
he's
too.
tier one,
He's a
maybe.
tier
I don't
one.
know.
He's a tier one guy.
Yeah. I mean,
Making
Mike,
that ballsy of a decision to bench
Yep.
Fields and it paying out very
right
well.
now.
Right
paying
now.
out. Right now, paying
Through
out.
1 week.
But it's crazy to think that if Russ is playing this good and you got Fields in your back pocket, I mean, personally, I'm a guy where I think, obviously Russ a little bit older, I think anytime you get in the red zone, you put in Fields.
That's what I was saying last game. Like they were on the 1 yard line rushing with Russ. Like throw Fields in there, man.
Like, obviously what they're gonna do, but it's not like a Michigan football situation last year where we would have McCarthy in for the passing plays and we would bring in Orgy sometimes for the running plays.
Yeah.
And it'd be so obvious. Obviously the other team would know, but Fields is not a guy where he's just gonna run every play.
He doesn't throw the ball.
He can throw the ball, and that's what I'm saying. Bring him in when you get inside the red zone, have him ready to go, and when he comes in, just run your normal offense. If he scrambles out and runs, you're probably running for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the Steelers are in a great position to
They
win
are.
some football games and be really competitive.
They're completely, probably the opposite of where I thought they were going to be. I thought they might be 2-5.
Me too, and they're actually a really fun team to watch.
They are
too.
really fun. I really
Yeah.
like watching the Steelers
Yep.
team. I'm back to rooting for the Steelers now.
Yeah,
you know?
football's great right now. Football is
great.
great right now. College and NFL and sports are great right now. World Series going on right now.
We got the sports equinox right now.
Yep,
ladies and
NHL
gentlemen.
started. NHL's in full swing now. Almost a month in, about 3 weeks in now.
Rangers
NBA's
5-0-1 if you guys were curious.
NBA started last night. Sabres 3-1-1 in their last 5. Huge win last night against Dallas. Big game tonight for the LA Clippers, playing at
NBA's
home.
back.
At home, first game in Intuit Dome for the Clippers.
That's huge.
Repping them right now. My team.
Big win
gonna
for
be
the Celtics last night.
Big win for the championship. Celtics champion
Champions.
ring ceremony and banner raising
Amazing.
ceremony.
That was
How was
amazing.
that?
Oh, I almost shed a tear, dude. It was
I bet.
amazing.
I bet.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, I hope we can do that next year. And Intuit. Intuit's going to be filled with banners, dude. It's going to be crazy. Really excited for all the sports that are going on right now. And not to even mention, the Yankees are in their World Series.
Yeah,
I mean, what is going on right now? What a day. What a week.
Yeah.
What a life
Just gotta
we
get
got
through
right
today.
now.
Just gotta get through today.
Gotta
It all
get
starts
through-
today.
Got to get through that bio exam, like we said at the beginning of the episode. But it all starts with Week 8 on Sunday.
It all does.
And we'll be
Get
back.
ready.
And we'll be back potentially with an NBA episode
hopefully
sometime
coming up.
within this week or next week. And then NFL, obviously, our weekly NFL episode coming out.
And you know what? We might sprinkle in some MLB because it's the World Series.
Who knows?
We can't keep sleeping on it. So
Yeah. We'll have more coming up. Stay tuned. Follow us on our Instagram.
at Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot between every single word.
Yes, it is, Gavin. And thank you guys. Have a great day.
Have a day.